I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, August the 4th, brought to you in part by Zoetis. Increased slaughter capacity, that's something we've been needing really bad here of late, and we've lost some of our slaughter hook space there in the last several years. Some of your bigger corporate packers have shuttered some plants, and we just don't have as many places to harvest our cattle. But as we've seen how vulnerable that makes us after the results of the fire, which is coming up here pretty quick, almost a 1-year anniversary to the Holcomb fire there, we saw how vulnerable we were for that. It was a little bit different during the COVID because it was due to the workers not being able to get in there and get to work, and due to the coronavirus. But still, we need more slaughter capacity. We need more outlets. We've been looking at that. We've seen that a lot of these finished cattle, and not just in guys' backyards and guys are just feeding out locker beefs, but also some of them coming out of some of our feedlots are going to some of these smaller custom kill places, and some of these regional packers are starting to sop up more of them, and we just need to continue to push and get more and more of that. We need more people selling directly to their customers, and letting them know exactly what they're getting. People are willing to pay a little bit more for that. But we did see another one come in this week. It was announced that there's going to be a new packing plant out in the great Northwest there. True West Beef in Jerome, Idaho, which is in the Magic Valley there in Idaho. There's going to be a new packing plant there built by Agra Beef, which is a big company out in the great Northwest, been around for a long time. Got a good reputation. They've been in the cattle feeding business. They've been in the processing business too, but they go down all the way from genetics all the way up to ready to eat beef. But we're glad to see a little more slaughter capacity coming along there. That's going to be a 500 head a day harvesting plant, going to be a steer and heifer plant. And we're glad to see them come in. It's going to help people up in that part of the country. We've seen we've got more and more of those coming online, and some of these smaller and mid-sized processing facilities, 500 head to 1,000 a day, and we can get more of those scattered about. I think that's a good deal. There's some of these guys that are trying to get the logistics down to get your consumers more tied directly in to where that beef is coming from, and learning more about it, and you need some of those smaller kind of plants to really add value to that deal. But we're excited about seeing some more packing plants come on, and maybe as we get more and more on there, they could add a little bit to the way we sell our fat cattle. Although, talking about this big plant that's coming in, or I say big, 500 head a day plant coming in, we've also heard that they have ramped up some feeding space there to fill those needs that they're going to have there. But we hope that there's going to be a little more trade as we add more and more slaughter space, and especially from some of these smaller plants, just a tick bigger than a custom kill, because a lot of those guys won't have access to their own live cattle, and they will come into the market there, and we'd sure like to see more and more of that. We've got cooler weather prevailing, has been the last part of last week and through the weekend. I was talking to a friend of mine there at Dodge City Days there in Dodge City, Kansas, which was held at the same time as they had the big yearling specials there at Winter Livestock in Dodge, and said he had to get a coat, put the coat on to watch the rodeo there in Dodge City the other night, and hope he didn't have a straw hat on, but he probably did. I'd have just froze if I'd have had to done that. But let's talk about your cattle futures. August live cattle up 20 cents on Monday, ending the day at 103.02. October up 40 cents at 108.27. So starting the week out on the right foot. You go on Further out on your live cattle contracts, up 27 cents to up 75. August feeder cattle up 20 cents at 144.87. September up 85 cents at 147.07. Tell you what, those are starting to get up there where you think they might eclipse 150. And I tell you what, guys are pretty bullish. You know, you talk to some of the big prognosticators out there that charge for their services. They're all very bullish for the most part, and they think that we've kind of ran through some of our stops on these technical charts and things like that, and so they're kind of bullish about that. We're bullish about the fact that it doesn't seem to be as many calves, and we sure didn't learn anything by watching the USDA inventory report there in January. Told us we we're going to have more calves to choke this year, and even though we got backed up due to the slowdowns during the worst of the coronavirus, it doesn't seem like we're in that bad a shape, and we saw that show lists are lighter again this week. And I tell you what, especially in the northern plains, they're pretty dang current up that way, and you can see that in the market. They're pushing that a little bit. But going out front on your feeder cattle futures, and they were down 77 to up 57, so a little bit mixture there. But let's talk about your weighted average on last week's fed cattle trade cash in your 5-area feeding region. 103,000 head, that's pretty good movement. That compares to 100,000 the week before and 79,900 head same week a year ago. We've been having more cash trade here as we've come out of the worst of the coronavirus, and I'm not sure if that's had to do with the investigations, whether that's had to do with the push from the industry to try to get more transparency in your trade, but indeed that is in there. They haven't yet asked them nicely, the leaders in NCBA, to do all the bid the grid, and I'll tell you in a minute, they don't do hardly any of that at all, really, in comparison to our other methods of marketing fed cattle. But your prices for steers and heifers last week in your 5-area feeding region ranged from 95 to 102.50 live, mostly 97 to $1. It was 97 by and large in the southern plains, and a little bit better than that up north. And I told you guys they're pretty darn current in the northern plains there, and so they're able to start maybe holding back for a little bit more money. Not a whole lot of negotiation going on out there. Got to be pretty bold to set your heels in the dirt and hold for more money, because they may just turn their nose up and not trade with you and forget to call you next week too, and you don't want to get into one of those deals. But retaliation is a big maneuver that your packers like to use there, and they will do it. You can't hardly say anything bad about them on social media. They may call and give you a scolding and forget to come bid on your cattle if you do something like that too. But I tell you what, they're awful powerful. But as we get started working through these market ready supplies that we have now, some of them a little bit backed up, our weights are heavy, we know that. But this calf crop, and likely the last calf crop, and a lot of us were saying that, you know, after the 2019, the rough winter they had, that we were going to have fewer calves then. Well, now we're having fewer calves for sure this crop, and as we start moving down through the end of this year and into next spring, yeah, we could get into a deal where we've got supplies back in our favor as far as having some leverage on the market. And guys are going to have to learn to ask more for their cattle again, guys. It's not a sin, and you're not pissing somebody off to ask more for something when the demand is up. But it's something that they're going to have to learn. Your old guys back in the 80s and 90s, when they used to sell a lot of cattle live, they knew how to ask more for cattle, and they're just going to have to start learning how to do that. That's the only way you're ever going to get any more for them, guys, is if you ask more. But your live steer weighted average in your 5-area feeding region, 98.66. that was up $1.42, and that is significant because in the Southern Plains, which we say is the bulk of your fat cattle there, if you've seen that it has transitioned back down there, Texas and Kansas areas have 50%, but they were $97, and that was $1 higher. But there was enough higher trade and gaining more ground in the Northern Plains, where even though the Southern Plains was all $1 higher, your weighted average ended up being up $1.42 compared to the week before. So that's pretty significant. Dress sales, and that's mostly in the Northern Plains, steers and heifers range from 157 to 170, but mostly 160. And there was so much 160 that your weighted average on all dress steers was 160.03, and that was up almost $2, up $1.93. So did gain some ground in your fed cattle arena there. Nationwide live sale, or not all live, but nationwide negotiated cash sales, 119,900 head. That's a pretty healthy movement there. And 12.5% of those, or just over 15,000 of them, were for the 15 to 30 day delivery. So it doesn't look like they're really setting guys up too bad for fall. Usually if they're looking for a lower market down the line, they'll try to get as many as those 15 to 30 day cattle as they can, so that they can work that market lower. But they're not really doing that too much at the moment right now. But you look, there was about 120,000 head of cash sales. There was about 261,000 head of formula sales. That's what the bulk of your movement always is. And forward contracts are about 20,700 head. Negotiated grid, which is supposed to save the industry, according to NCBA, they're bid the grid, which is just negotiated grid, but they haven't established how they're going to get those on a balanced deal, because if all the packers are using different grids, or they're going to show a favoritism to their buddies with the grid, how do you do that? Comparing apples to apples, you really can't do that. But negotiated grid sales after all those other sales was only just over 20,000, so a very small portion of a week's movement there. But let's talk about some other things that are going on. They've got some evening sales I want you guys to pay attention to. One big one's going to be at Montgomery Stockyards in Montgomery, Alabama. Talked to Chuck Bradley there, my good friend and world-class auctioneer. Probably would have won the World Champion Livestock Auctioneer contest had they went ahead and been able to have that, but didn't end up doing that near Nashville like they would have. They're going to put it off and do the same thing next year, but he probably got the dirty end of the stick on that, because he most likely would have won it. He's been on a roll here, and his talent is unbelievable. But he's a promoter and auctioneer there at Montgomery Stockyards, Montgomery, Alabama. Jerry Etheridge, their manager there, he's a good guy too. They've got a big sale Wednesday night, 6 o'clock Central. So they've got 60 loads of long-time weaned, I mean 60 days or better, long-time weaned home-raised calves that they're going to be selling out of that country. And it's just not on somebody's word. Jerry and his staff have been out to all these farms and looked at these cattle. They've overseen the deals. They've overseen the shot records and everything that they're going to have. Everything is right. I mean, you talk about buying some calves out of the Southeast. This is not normally what you would talk about, but it's a board sale there. Get a hold of them at Montgomery Stockyards if you're interested. They've got YouTube videos up on their YouTube channel, Montgomery Stockyards, with some video footage of some of these cattle, but it's going to be a tele-auction. They're going to auction them off over the phone there. But I tell you what, that is an opportunity to get some really, really honest cattle there that could be more worth the money than they are in the Northern Plains, and they won't be ballers. They won't be sorting them from the cows the day they load them on the trucks. These will be long-time weaned, hard weaned calves there, and turned back out there for the most part. And don't forget that sale, Montgomery Stockyards, 6 o'clock Wednesday evening, and that's Central Time. Another evening sale that's going to be on Thursday evening is my friend Jack Harrison's got a big cow special at Callaway Livestock Center, Kingdom City, Missouri. He said they started off thinking they'd have 800 or 1,000 cows. Now he's 1,000, 1,200 cows. He texted me there Monday night and he said, I don't know how many we're going to end up with. They just keep coming out of the woodwork. And these are going to be honest cow deals. I'll tell you what, many dispersals going to be included in that. There'll be bred cows. There'll be some pairs likely there too, because they have calving seasons all around there, not just running wide open, but fall and spring there. But there'll be some really top quality cows. That's some of the best cattle in the country right there in central Missouri. I would say there'll be 80% or better black, and mostly all bred black too. But you can view and bid that sale on dvauction.com at 6 o'clock Central on Thursday night. Be sure and tune in there. Some of you guys will call me around looking for a few more cows or looking for some deals. These will be some dispersal deals, and Jack and them will tell you all about them whenever you get on there. And if you're watching, you may want to call somebody if you know somebody around there and get some more information on them. But really some honest replacement females there, and it's a good opportunity to buy some commercial keeping cattle. How about your feeder cattle market? Your real-time index on DV auction late on Monday at 138.88. That was up 78 cents, so that's encouraging that we're gaining there. Mostly in Oklahoma City there. Oklahoma National Stockyard, 7,000 head. Feeder steers there steady to $6 higher. Wow. Feeder heifers steady to $3 higher. They had a much lighter test of calves. They were steady to $3 lower in a very light test. Joplin Regional Stockyard, 7,000 head there. Mostly steady go there in Joplin, and Rick Huffman did note that there were some instances as much as $3 higher on some heifer calves there, but for the most part, Joplin was largely steady. Pulled out a big string of steers there at Joplin through the ring on Monday. 325 head of steers weighed 795 and 138.50. Look at these sales out of Russell Livestock Market in Russell, Iowa. These are the loads of yearling steers that they sold on Monday. If you notice in there, most of them weighing in the 8s, and most of them bringing $5 or better over the index levels there. But very impressive sale there. The one stick-out deal that I noted there was the 66 steers weighed 730 at $157. But you got to take into account where these sales are at, where the cattle are at. A top sale for Monday come out of Fort Smith Stockyards, Fort Smith, Arkansas. Alan Hales brought his green yearlings into town there, and I tell you what, they brought top money. 68 head, 852-pound green steers there in Fort Smith, Arkansas, $145.50. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.